Alright guys, I'm here back with more Yakuza 6. See me on.
Yes, there's a lot of filler in the game, and there's like annoying little
Yeah, I'm currently listening to or rewatching my 2019 year in gaming video for my other channel. Just I kind of wanted to, I wanted to rewatch it, but also I kind of wanted to hear my opinions about Judgment. So I was like, let's just watch the entire fucking thing.
The charm that it had from all those previous games. So I personally still enjoyed it.
Which, in retrospect, I definitely would have approached this video a little bit differently.
Talk about on this channel as well, and that is The Walking Dead, the final season. And actually, really anticipated this being higher on the list. It's actually kind of weird that it's not, considering I did actually really enjoy The Walking Dead, the final season. I thought it was a massive improvement upon A New Frontier. I don't like it as much as seasons 1 and 2, but I actually really liked seasons 1 and 2. I think it has a great first half. I think episodes 1 and 2 of this season are fantastic. Two of my favorite episodes in all of The Walking Dead Telltale. However, I thought it faltered in the last couple episodes. Obviously, Clementine's a great character. I really like seeing her interactions with AJ. I thought a lot of the newer characters that were introduced were pretty solid as well. I did like that Telltale actually tried to make a game out of this, actually added a combat system to the game. And overall, I just really enjoyed the narrative as a whole. Again, there's like a major misstep towards the end, but outside of that, I had a lot of fun with this. So while it is at number 10 here, I still really enjoyed it. Moving on to number 9.
Again, like, this is so terribly edited.
And I really love the original two Metro games, especially Last Light. I thought Last Light was one of the best first-person shooter games I've ever played. And Exodus here takes a bit of a turn. Instead of becoming a linear narrative-based shooter like the original game, it becomes a open-world narrative-based shooter. And I just don't feel like it works as well. I think Metro works so well being linear that here as an open world, it just becomes more bloated. I think it becomes a lot more like Far Cry in a way that I never really wanted Metro to be. Now, obviously, the original elements of the game are still there, so I mean, it's not like it's too far removed from the original series, but it's just not exactly a turn I want the series to take. That being said, I still really enjoyed the game. I think narratively it was still a lot of fun. I really liked the relationship between Artyom and Anna and Miller and like all these other characters from the original game. I think the concept of the narrative was really, really interesting. And overall, the individual stories are
Miller dies at the end of Exodus, right?
Interesting as well. However, I don't like how disconnected they are. They all feel very episodic. But again, overall, I still had a very fun experience with the game. Now, if you want to hear me talk about my spoiler-filled thoughts on the game, go watch my Metro Exodus video. Now, number 8, we're finally to a game I haven't talked about yet. It's a game that a lot of people really seem to love, and it's a game that I really thought I would love just as much, but I found myself very underwhelmed by it, and that is Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order. It's a very solid 8 out of 10 game, but I was expecting a 9 out of 10. I was expecting this to be like mind-blowing experience, but it just came out this time. It is obviously a single-player Star Wars game that seems to take a lot of inspiration from like Uncharted mixed in with combat like Dark Souls, and I really like the combat system. I thought it was really fun. It really made you feel like a Jedi using the Force and using your lightsaber and stuff in combat. I think that was fun. The base is pretty solid. Again, a lot like Uncharted, just climbing around, trying to find your way from A to B.
I really do want to replay Jedi Fallen Order.
This game is structured like a Metroidvania game where there's a lot of backtracking, but then you backtrack in different ways. But I felt like in this game, the backtrack just annoyed me. I don't think it flows nearly as well as something like God of War 2018.
I've talked about this already, that I kind of would rather do a Jedi Fallen Order video over a Death Stranding video at this point.
Also, narratively, I just felt like the game was so pointless. I mean, yes, you get introduced to the characters and you get to see how they come together, but outside of that, this game does nothing narratively, and I felt like that was very underwhelming, considering all the praise I heard about it beforehand. So overall, for me, I just felt like this game was underwhelming. Again, I didn't think it was bad. I enjoyed my experience with the game. I just didn't find it as great as what other people were saying. Still a solid Star Wars single-player game, probably the best one we've had in a very, very long time. But I still find myself pretty underwhelmed by it. Now, number 7 is a game that I really had a lot of fun with. Now, this is not a game I would consider like a masterpiece by any means, but it's a game that I just simply had fun playing, and that is The Outer Worlds. Now, this game did get a whole bunch of great reviews, and it's considered like one of the best games of 2019. I don't personally even think that, to be honest. I think this game is good with glitches. I think narratively it's just kind of dumb. Like, I don't consider this really that great of a game, but I just had fun playing it. I mean, it's really as simple as that. I mean, like, I had fun doing all these random missions, meeting all these weird characters, exploring all these new worlds, and that's really fundamentally what the game is, and it's fine. I mean, it's a Fallout ripoff. I mean, it's made by a team that did Fallout New Vegas, and they essentially just made a new Fallout game without using the Fallout property. And that's pretty much what this game is. What it is fine. Like, it's a solid game. Again, the game I had more fun with than any of the games I've talked about so far, and probably even more fun with than the next few games I'll be talking about on the list. But in terms of its actual quality, I didn't feel comfortable putting it above the next couple games on the list. Again, it's not a bad game. It's a solid experience, but for me, not really anything of yeah. Now moving on to number 6, which is a game that I have already talked about on the channel. It's a game I really enjoyed. I was actually very surprised at how much I enjoyed this game, and that is Devil May Cry 5. Now, the Devil May Cry series as a whole is a series that's not for me, and because of that, I was fully expecting this to be kind of underwhelming to me, but I actually really enjoyed it. Like, I was very surprised at how much I enjoyed this game. It's a very solid hack and slash game, very similar to the previous Devil May Cry game. Minor improvements, but I was very impressed by the use of 3 characters in this game, how each of those characters are diverse on their own right, and I really like what they did narratively here. I thought the narrative of this game was really fun. I like the way that they told it, where they're jumping around time periods. I really like certain mystery elements to it. I really like how the character V connected to the overall narrative. I just found Devil May Cry 5 to be a great game, and again, I probably had more fun with the Outer Worlds than this game, but I was actually more impressed by what this game had to offer than with the Outer Worlds, so for me it ranks here at number 6. Now number 5, I think that I would consider, to be honest, to be the most perfect game from this year.
Resident Evil? I forgot about that. I had Resident Evil 2 that low.
Resident Evil 2. And I really enjoyed my experience playing this. However, it's just an experience that I don't really feel incentivized to ever do it again. That's kind of why I have it at number 5 here. Again, like, I think it's a better game. I think it's the best game of the year. I think 100%, hands down, level design-wise, game design-wise, pretty much just everything. I think it is the best game of the year. However, it just didn't connect with me as much. Again, I'm not a big Resident Evil guy. I loved Resident Evil 4 back in the day, but it's like outside that, I'm not really a big Resident Evil person. Never played Resident Evil 2 for more than, what, like 30 minutes, an hour, the original I'm talking about. Obviously played Resident Evil 2 here. I did finish the Leon story. I did not go back and play the Claire story. I wouldn't mind doing it at some point, but to be honest, I think it takes a lot out of me to play it one time. I'm not a big survival horror guy when it comes to games. And horror films, I'm fine. Games, not as much. I remember when I played Resident Evil 7, it scared the shit out of me. And Resident Evil 2 is still kind of more of the same. But not as much. I mean, I don't think I was as terrified playing Resident Evil 2 as I was with 7. But still, things like Mr. X is like really freaking terrifying. But I just adored this game's game design. I think it was really impressive how, despite most of this game, like the first half of this game when you're in the police department, most of that is just backtracking. I mean, you're doing a lot of just going into rooms, finding like keys or just ways to get to new areas that you haven't been to before, then going to those new areas and then finding more
Fuck, this is so much exposition all at once,
over
isn't
and
it?
over again. And that's something that you would think would be really boring and really annoying and tedious to do. But for me, I found it a lot of fun. I found that to be one of the most fun elements of the game, and I feel like for them to make that fun, that's very, very impressive. And also just to see how much of an improvement this is from the original game, I think that's really great as well. I even think narratively, I thought this game was a lot of fun. I think they were able to tell a fun, coherent narrative here. So, I mean, I have almost no faults with this game, outside of the fact that it's not really my type of game. And that's really the only thing keeping it out of the number 1 spot, because I do think this is a perfect game for what it's trying to be. But again, at the end of the day, it isn't for me, so I have it ranked here at number 5. Now at number 4 is a
Here's
game
Judgment.
that really, really shocked me. I
This is
did
why I've been
not expect to love this game as much as
waiting
I
for
did,
it.
and that is Judgment. And I have not played the Yakuza games, but Judgment here is a spin-off. It's a game that's completely disconnected from those games, so I decided to give it a shot. I was really surprised how much I liked it. I absolutely adored it. Again,
Yeah, I'm looking at the gameplay. It's literally the exact same
Shenmue. I mean, as much as I love
as
Shenmue,
Yakuza
the Yakuza
6.
games were kind of the spiritual successor to Shenmue.
Again, I haven't watched
And from what I
gameplay
understand, do it a lot better.
of it in a
And
while.
playing Judgment, I fully understand why. I mean, it feels like a better version of Shenmue. Now, I still love Shenmue for like the epic revenge narrative that's trying to tell, but in terms of gameplay, Judgment does it better in every single way. Yes, there's a lot of backtracking, I will admit that, but there's shops you can go to, there's like mini games you can play, all that is fun. And even then, I thought the main narrative was pretty strong as well, where he plays this detective.
Yeah,
and
there's a lot of waiting
trying
around
to
in
solve a case.
Judgment,
and I thought
right?
the case had some pretty interesting twists and turns here and there. I think the combat was pretty solid, definitely better than what we got from Shenmue 3. And overall, I just really like the detective aspects of this game. I mean, it's not without its flaws. I mean, there's tailing missions in the game, and they're really, really terrible. There's a lot of filler in the game where they force you to do side quests for like no real reason. But overall, I just really had a lot of fun with this game. Again, I thought narratively this was just a really fun detective story. So for me, really enjoyed it. Ranks here number 4. Now number 3, and these top 3 for me were very, very close. I constantly switched around between these top 3. And really, I made a last second change for my number 1, but number 3 here has kind of stayed where it is for a little while. And that is A Plague Tale: Innocence.
I think I've watched the ending of this video somewhat recently, so I think I could stop watching at this point, but whatever, we'll just watch the rest of it anyway.
It is a great narrative-based single-player experience
6 minutes
where
left.
most of the game revolves around stealth sections, which again is something that I didn't think I would like. I'm not a big stealth guy, but I think this game does it very well, where it kind of turns the entire game into a big, sort of human puzzle. I guess really that's the way you can look at stealth games as a whole. I really like the crafting system in this game. I thought visually this game was very, very impressive. Narratively, I thought this game was great. Again, I really like the relationship between Amicia and Hugo. I think the lore of this series is very interesting, and
So $5,000?
the future of the Plague Tale series. Like, I just think overall, this is a very fun single-player experience with a very strong narrative. Essentially, everything that I would love in a game. But at the same time, it is pretty small scale. I mean, it is not as grand of a game as these next 2 games I'll be talking about. So because that kind of lands here at number 3, but at the end of the day, again, all these games are very, very close to me. Now number 2, and this was tough. Number 2 here was my number 1 game of the year for a very long time. Number 2 has Death Stranding. And I love Death Stranding. I know this game gets a lot of hate. It's like, oh my god, it's just a delivery simulator. Yeah, gameplay by simulation, that is what it is.
Actually, I want to rewatch my PS4 exclusive ranking at this point.
I think the level progression within the game is very solid. I really like delivering the packages from location to location. I like how they come on introduced you to things how you deliver these things after every single mission. I like how the missions were structured, where each chapter would focus around a certain character, doing tasks for that character. And overall, I really enjoyed the gameplay, despite it being relatively bare bones. But the narrative is the main thing that really sticks out to my mind here, obviously. I think narratively, this is a really impressive feat of world building and lore, and out of any game that came out this year, this was the game I was the most impressed with what it was able to do narratively. And the type of narratives that really stick out to my mind are those epic tales that really have this massive sense of, again, world building and lore. That's why I love something like One Piece so much, and I feel like Death Stranding is a good setup for a massive scale narrative like that. And I really love the character of Sam Porter Bridges, and I think he has a great arc throughout the course of this game. Yes, this narrative does get convoluted here and there, but overall I still had so much fun with it. And the reason why I got bumped down from number 1 to number 2 isn't because I like this game any less than I did when I originally played it. It's mostly because I feel like the game that's at number 1 has continued to stick with me more than Death Stranding. But I still enjoy Death Stranding as much as I did the first time I played it. It's a great game overall. It lands here at number 2. But at number 1, the number 1 game of the year is a game I have already talked about on the channel. But even when I was talking about it there, I was kind of a bit more mixed on it. I mean, I definitely enjoyed it a lot, but I was definitely a little bit lower on it than I am now. And now I've come to really, really, really enjoy this game. And I can't believe I'm saying this, that this is my game of the year for 2019, my favorite game out of all these I've played. And that's Kingdom Hearts 3. And I don't know what it is. It's really weird because like I finished it and it ranks number 3 initially. And I thought about more. I was like, okay, yeah, I think it's better than Plague Tale. And I thought about more and more and more. And I continued to watch videos of other people playing Kingdom Hearts 3, watch videos of people playing Remind, start analyzing the narrative of Kingdom Hearts, and I was just like, I can't not put Kingdom Hearts 3 at number 1 now. It's like, I feel so connected to this franchise at this point, despite me not even liking the gameplay that much. I think it's fine. I mean, it's not something that, again, I'm not someone that plays games for difficulty. I think
if I were to play data battles that are Remind, I would be really frustrated. But for me with Kingdom Hearts 3, it's really the narrative that really connected me. And like, again, the Disney World stuff, I don't care about any of that in Kingdom Hearts. Such a great conclusion to this Xehanort.
This is so fucking jumpy. What the fuck was I doing when editing this video? Like, what the fuck? This is so poorly edited.
That we never thought we would see together finally
Oh,
come
whatever.
together, and it really just feels like the Avengers Endgame for Kingdom Hearts, and I really adored that, and I still stand by this. I do really enjoy the combat system of this game more so than the previous games. Yes, it's a bit dumbed down from what we got in Kingdom Hearts 2, but I really enjoy it still. I mean, I had more fun with the gameplay of Kingdom Hearts 3 than I did with any of the previous games in the series. I really just love conclusions, massive storylines, and that is Kingdom Hearts 3's biggest boon for me. Like, I feel like all the setup that Kingdom Hearts has done through the course of, 17 years, all led to the last, 6 hours of Kingdom Hearts 3. And that 6 hours is one of the greatest blocks of gaming I've ever experienced. And because of that, I just felt it was very, very tough to not rank it at number 1, despite me thinking that, Death Stranding and A Plague Tale were more consistent experiences the entire way through. For me, Kingdom Hearts 3 just had the best moments of the entire year for me. So for me, I have to rank it here at number 1, and essentially name it my game of the year for 2019. So there we go. That is every game I have played from the year of 2019. So yeah, that was long. So yeah, this was a long process. I started playing these games, at the end of November of 2019. So the fact that it took me this long to eventually play all these games and make this video, it really feels like a long journey that's finally concluded here. There we go. And I've been thinking about this a bit here. I would actually like to go back and do a similar video to this or previous years in gaming for 2018, 2017.
Oh, I'm supposed to follow. Okay.
A year at a time.
It's over here?
I might attempt to do down the road.
Yeah, I just wasn't paying attention. That's my own fault.
Yeah, this video took forever to make. But yeah, I had a lot of fun while making it, so at least there's that. But that's the video.
Alright.
New winter flavors
So I'm gonna watch my PS4 exclusive video.
From software games in general are simply not for me. Alright guys, we love your back.
Alright, this is a bit more in line with how I would record a video now, at least audio-wise.
Really ever since I started this channel. Here we're going to be ranking every Sony published exclusive for the PS4. And I feel like it's obviously the right time to finally do it. With Ghost of Tsushima out, that is the last Sony published exclusive for the PS4.
Kind of.
I would assume. So now it's finally time to rank.
Yeah, that did not age well, by the way. He's like, immediately after I recorded this, or finished editing this, fucking Miles Morales and Horizon got announced for PS4. But it's like, fuck it, whatever.
First up, these games must be published by Sony Interactive Entertainment worldwide, meaning that if a game was only published in Japan by Sony or only published in North America by Sony, those games are not included. Now this includes games like Destiny, which was published in Japan by Sony, but again, not anywhere else. But probably more notably, a game that will not be included here is Neo, which is a game that was published by Sony outside of Japan, but within Japan it was not published by Sony, it was published by Koei Tecmo, so because of that I decided to not include it on the list. And the reason for this rule to begin with is because I don't really include these games as Sony exclusives. These aren't games that Sony really had that big of a hand in the development cycle of. These are just games that essentially Sony latched onto to publish. So for me, they didn't align with the purpose of this list. I will also only be including games that were originally released for the PS4, meaning no remasters or ports. However, remakes will count. So again, remasters will not count. Last of Us remastered, that would obviously be very high on the list if it was included. It will not be. Something like Wipeout Omega Collection is a collection of ports / remasters. So again, that didn't make it onto the list either. Again, for me, I just decided that remasters weren't really worth putting on the list, as they would already be on the list I would do if I were to do a PS3 ranking of the same topic, or a PS2 ranking, or any previous ones. Again, they weren't exclusive to the PS4, so I decided to leave them off the list because of that. So again, remakes will count though. Remakes such as the Ratchet & Clank remake, such as the Shadow of the Colossus remake, those things will be included on the list. Now this next rule was more so for sanity reasons than for logistic reasons. Again, the previous two were mostly because I felt like that's what I had to do to align with the purpose of the list. This one was mostly just for my sanity, and that is The games that will be on this list must be released physically. They must have a retail release. They are not digital-only games. And again, for me, part of that is just that reduces the amount of games, so I have to play a billion games for this list. But I think it also streamlines the list into what Sony considers their main game for the generation. So because that game like Erica, which is something I have played, will not be on the list. Same thing with Everybody's Gone to the Rapture, a game I really enjoy. Again, won't be on the list because of this rule. Another rule I decided to have is that the games that are on the list must have a single player component to it. And again, this is another one that's mostly for me. This is because I'm mostly a single player gamer. I don't really play online.
Every single time I say gamer, I'm just like laughing on the inside.
That includes Predator Hunting Grounds, which was a recent release, but that is multiplayer only. That's not on the list. Drive Club is not on the list, but then I'm pretty sure they shut down servers for that anyway. And something that I did end up playing, but I just decided not to put on the list anyway, is Gran Turismo Sport. It does technically have a single player. You can just do races on your own, but it's like there's not much to it, so I just decided to leave it off the list entirely. Another rule, also for my sanity, is no MLB The Show. Again, there's just way too many of them, and there's really no purpose of putting them on the list. They're not really games for me anyway, and because of that, decided to leave them off as well. And the final rule for this list is that there will be no VR games or no PlayLink games on the list. And I mean, VR is like kind of its own separate thing anyway. I mean, I personally don't have PlayStation VR anyway, but even if I did, like, I would consider that its own separate video. While PlayLink, again, this is another one that's probably more so for my sanity. I mean, there really isn't much PlayLink games that I really care about. Anyway, I have personally played Hidden Agenda, so like if I really wanted to, I could have put that on the list, but I just decided, you know what, let's just scrap.
Keep forgetting we're supposed to be bashing that square there.
So those are all my rules. Again, that really narrows down the field. So that ends up making this list 26 games long, which is still a decent amount, and I did play all of these for the sake of this video. So let's get started with the list, and to be honest, these bottom spots here, these bottom 5 games are games that I did not play too extensively. 4 of them are actual full games that I just did not end up finishing. The other one's kind of just a more casual experience overall. And because of that, I decided to just put them on the bottom tier of the list. Like, again, like if I didn't really feel incentivized to finish
what am
the
I doing
game,
right now?
I don't really see a reason to put those games above any games I did feel incentivized to finish. So at number 26
Wait,
here, we
where's
have
this?
a game that I've already talked about in my 2019 Year in Gaming video. I did decide to give it another shot again. Really just still could not get into it, and it is a remake. It is the remake of Medieval. And again, despite this being on the bottom of the list, I don't hate this game. It's a game that's not for me. I mean, it's straight up, that's what it is. And that didn't really capture my attention. I never played the original on the PS1, and I could definitely tell, like, it has a fun, like, sort of tone going for it. But for me, gameplay-wise, it didn't really capture my attention. It's kind of your standard third-person hack-and-slash game that you would expect from the PS1 era. And I know, like, fans of the original Medieval do like this remake, so again, if you like the original, you'll probably like this, because it is a more modernized version of that. But for me personally, again, it's just a modernized version of that, and a modernized version of that isn't something that I particularly want. So because of that, I had to put it at the bottom of the list. Again, I don't hate the game, it's just a game that's not for me. Now, number 25, we have a game that's in a very similar place with me, and this one might upset some people, but that is Bloodborne. And again, Bloodborne is simply not for me. From software games in general are simply not for me. I remember when Demon Souls came out, and I did play a good chunk of Demon Souls actually when I was younger, but I was kind of in a different mindset with how I approached gaming at that point. At that point, I was still into games for the challenge, for really the game aspect of it, where now I kind of play games more so for the experience, more so for the narrative,
Damn it, I
more so
fucked up.
for a completely different reason than what I used to play games for, and Bloodborne still fits into that old mold. Again, if I played this when I was a kid, I probably would have loved it. But now, the current state that I'm at, it's really just something that I'm not really going to bother with. Again, I did try playing it, played a few hours of it, but it's like, after like the billionth death, I really didn't care enough to continue. Now number 24, and now we're getting into games I actually played a good chunk of, but I still did not finish the game here, and that is Killzone Shadowfall. And again, for me, it's just not my sort of thing. I'm not really a big FPS guy either. Killzone Shadowfall really just isn't as interesting of one to where I felt incentivized to finish the game. It's weird because it's like, I adore another game that Guerrilla developed within this generation.
Yeah, I think I edited out a long spiel about me talking about first-person shooters.
It was kind of your standard sci-fi shooter. I consider the narrative that interesting. Really, Killzone as a series has never been something that has interested me too much.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I ended up going on a spiel about Bioshock.
And because of that, it lands here at number 24.
I'm pretty sure I edited that out.
3, the more casual game that's on this list, and that is Everybody's Golf. And again, it's fine. I mean, it's fine for what it is. There isn't. I debated over whether or not to put this on the list at all. I decided that the single player was enough to the point where it should be on the list. But really, I can't really justify putting it too high, because really all it is just an arcadey golf game, and I enjoy that game. I enjoyed playing it. I enjoyed playing the Hot Shots golf games when I was a kid, and this is obviously part of that series. But despite having fun with it, it's really just not a game that I really hold in that high regard. And it's one of those games that you can pop in and play at random points and still have fun with it, but it's not really a robust experience that I would expect from most modern Sony published games. So because of that, it lands here at number 23. Now number 22 is the top of this tier that I was talking about, the games I did not finish. And this is a game that really disappointed me. I really wanted to love this game, and that is Days Gone. And I've tried so many times now to play this game. I've literally tried 3 times to play the game. Really just could not get into it any of those times. And I even tried to watch the cutscene movie, and even then I found myself bored with that as well. And it's such a shame, because I feel like Days Gone has so many elements I would love from a modern Sony published game, but something about it just feels off. I don't know, like, whenever I'm playing this game, I never feel like this is to the caliber of the great PS4 exclusives that we'll be talking about much later on the list. Instead, I feel like I'm playing like a THQ game. I feel like I'm playing a budget third-party game. It really just does not play well in my eyes. Mixing that in with the fact that I found the narrative pretty dull. I didn't really care for anything that was going on there. And mixing that in with just a lot of minor annoyances in terms of dumb things like that, like having to hold a button instead of having to just push it, and having to micromanage certain things. It just really felt annoying to me. I never had fun playing this game, and it's such a shame, because I feel like it's a game I should enjoy. It has every element of games I do enjoy. It just, for some reason, just never clicked with me, and I think that's a shame, but I really can't justify putting it any higher than number 20.
Okay. Gotta put ads on my videos, right?
Make any moment a good one with a $10 Taco Bell Burrito Cravings Pack. Only at Taco Bell. Now on to number 21, and from this point on, I've finished all these games. Every game from this point on is a game that I have played in its entirety. But to be honest, this game is a game that I didn't particularly care for, and that is The Last Guardian. I love what The Last Guardian tries to do. I think conceptually, The Last Guardian is fantastic. In many ways, it does feel like the continuation of Eco that people have been hoping for. However, I just feel like the game plays terribly with how terribly controlled. And I think that's one of the biggest flaws of Eco's games in general. And I really like this concept of you having Trico as your companion, and you can solve puzzles and get through areas and all that. It's really great. I really love this concept here. It's just so unresponsive at many points, and at so many points it just feels awkward. And I do love this narrative. I think the narrative is really great, especially the ending. Overall, the Last Guardian is just an experience that I really felt annoyed at, and I really have no incentive to ever play this game ever again. So for me, it lands at number 21. Now number 20, and this is a game that gets so much flack, and I understand why, but I think I'm enjoying it more than I expected, and that is Knack. Now, obviously Knack has become this like massive meme online, but Knack isn't that bad. I mean, it's a pretty basic platformer slash beat 'em up. The story is pretty dumb and boring, but I mean, like, I think the game was okay. I think the biggest problem with Knack is that it overstays its welcome. It's a game that is like a 10-hour game when it should have been like a 5-hour game. However, I would be lying if I said I didn't have fun with the first few hours of the game. I think it's an alright game. It's just, it's too long of one, and really, again, the narrative is uninteresting, and most of its gameplay is pretty generic, but I didn't find that bad, so for me it landed at number 20. Now number 19, guess what? We have the sequel to Knack, we have Knack 2. And I feel like Knack 2 does everything better. I feel like Knack 2 improves upon the first Knack in every possible way. I think the narrative is slightly more interesting, still not good, but it at least tries, I guess. The beat-em-up elements are much more improved in this game. I feel like level design-wise, this game's far more impressive. However, I think one of the biggest flaws is that, again, it's still way too long. It's still the same length as the first game, and I really felt like it didn't need to be. Again, if this game was half the length, it would be a better game for it. But in the current state that it is, it's a really big slog, and I felt like for me, something that made even more of a slog is that I obviously played Knack 2 immediately after I finished Knack 1. So for me, this is all kind of one experience, and because I felt like I definitely came out of finishing Knack 2 with a more negative opinion than I did of finishing Knack 1. But I think if I look back at the actual game itself, Knack 2 is definitely the superior game. It lands at number 19. Now at number 18, we're on to a game that I debated on whether or not to include on the list because it's kind of a weird one. It is kind of a port, but it is an enhanced port. So I decided to put it here, and that is Tearaway Unfolded. Now Tearaway was originally a Vita game. This is the PS4 port of it that they did add a good chunk of content to. So because of that, I decided to leave it on the list, and Tearaway's okay. I mean, it's a game that I enjoyed at points. I will say that there were definitely points that kind of annoyed me with how slow the game was, especially at the beginning. Like at the beginning where you're like essentially having to learn like every little mechanic in the game. I just found that really, really slow. But that said, I think this game is a really fascinating game visually. I think level design-wise, it's pretty interesting, especially towards the end of the game. Narratively, obviously, there isn't much there. Like, it was an alright game. Again, one that I'll probably never play again, and one that did have some highs and lows for me. So because of that, it landed at number 18. Now, number 17, we're on to a game that I actually enjoyed. I was actually surprised that I enjoyed this game. Because a lot of this game is focused around
Yeah, we'll end when we get into like,
I actually found the single
the
player
combat.
pretty fun,
Yeah,
and that is
so we're
Little
gonna
Big
get in a
Planet
second.
3. Now, I have played Little Big Planet 1 in the past, and it was fine, but I actually enjoyed Little Big Planet 3 here way more than expected. I thought the level design in this game was particularly great. I really loved a lot of the levels in the single player here. Again, narratively, what do you expect with Little Big Planet? Gameplay-wise, I really enjoyed it. I think there were a couple issues with checkpoints at points, especially on that final level. But yeah, for the most part, I had a lot of fun with it. And I mean, in comparison to a lot of these more similar games that we just finished talking about, like Knack 2, Tearaway, I think this is far and away the best game of the bunch. Though at the end of the day, again, it is what it is. Like, it is a platformer that's made for a younger audience. Like, I'm not the target demographic for this game, but despite that, I did have more fun than expected. So it lands here number 17. Now number 16 is a game that I've already talked about in the past, but I now have a completely different opinion of it, and that is Concrete Genie. See, I did talk about this in my 2019 year in gaming video, and at that point I did not finish the game. I really didn't love my experience with it. I played a few hours of it and just kind of dropped it. However, I decided, like, obviously for the sake of this video, I decided to give it another shot. I wanted to replay it, and I actually ended up finishing the game this time, and I enjoyed it a lot more. I think now knowing what the game essentially is, which is a very basic game where you walk around these small open worlds and use your paint to light up these light bulbs, and you essentially do it over and over and over again. I think now knowing that that's what the game is, I think I enjoyed it a bit more. I mean, obviously it does have this story that tries to tackle themes of like bullying, mental health, and that sort of stuff, and I think it does a decent job at that. Though.
Oh wait, I gotta go check up on something. You know, actually, let's just end the episode here. I might as well just do that. So we'll do that. Thank you for watching.